Hello, today it is May the 21st. That means there are 225 days left in the year. If you're new here, click a like, subscribe to the channel, share this with a friend. You're at the Daily Devotional where we look into the scriptures, some thoughts for the day, a little bit of history, and of course the jokes. You'll want to stick around today, got a couple of good ones at the end. Let's get into it. Scripture of the day is from 2 Corinthians 1:12. For our rejoicing is this, the testimony of our conscience, that in simplicity and godly sincerity, not with fleshly wisdom, but by the grace of God, we have had our conversation in the world, and more abundantly to you, Ward. If you want to read the Bible in the year, today you'll be looking in First Chronicles 13 to 15 and John chapter 7, verses 1 to 27. Here's your thoughts for the day. Nothing is so commonplace as to wish to be remarkable. The greatest evil which fortune can inflict on men is to endow them with small talents and great ambition. You can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. So get busy today and do something and serve the Lord with gladness. Motivation for today, do it now. You become successful the moment you start moving towards a worthwhile goal. And our goal, look up, your redemption draweth nigh. So let's take a look at today in history. In 1840, Captain William Hobson claims British sovereignty over the whole of New Zealand. Now, official recognition as a British colony comes in 1841. And in 1927, American air pioneer Charles Lindbergh lands in France and he wins 25,000 pounds prize for successfully completing the first solo flight across the Atlantic. He went from Long Island, New York to Paris, France. In 1932, Amelia Earhart became the first woman to make a solo air crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. She went from Newfoundland to Ireland. And in 1991, Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi is assassinated when a bomb is planted in a bouquet of flowers and explodes during election campaigning. Here's your personal story for today. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. And we'll take a look at the whole of Ecclesiastes 9. If you want to read that for some references, you'll know what I'm talking about. So according to the old French legend, the walled city of Carcassonne came under siege during the Middle Ages. As the story goes, the people trapped inside had to run almost completely out of food. And although the city walls kept the powerful army at bay, starvation seemed imminent. One person came up with the idea to take one of the remaining pig in the city and stuff it with all the grain they had. They threw the animal over the wall for the attacking army to see. And the troops gave up hope of ever wearing down such a bountiful city and finally passed them by. Some storytellers claim the city was named for the hero of this story, but it's likely that if legend has any basis in reality, the truth behind the heroism has been lost forever. No one from that time is around to verify the facts. And that's the point Ecclesiastes hammers home in today's verses. The fight against death is a hopeless battle, no matter how skilled or well-known the warrior may be. Verses 13 to 15 take us through an account of a poor but wise man that saved his entire town against a mighty army, and he received no glory, no recognition. We never even find out his name. But then again, we never learn the identity of the powerful king either. In time, though, they all passed on at their appointed time. Under the sun, they both shared the same destiny. Beyond the sun is another matter altogether. Ecclesiastes recognizes the futility and the finality of the maddening desires of men, and that's pivotal realization for anyone who's lets earthly things unsettle their heart. Our disputes, our jealousy, our rage, and even our love, all that disappears. After the grave, there is nothing left for us to do in this world. Now, verses 7 to 10 give familiar advice. Don't let life pass you by without experiencing the joy God's creation gave us. We wouldn't give earthly matters priority over the pursuit of his kingdom, but we should appreciate everything, even the little things that are placed in our lives by the hand of God. Ecclesiastes asks probing questions. Who can know man's destiny? Now, that's something we should all consider. We're not even assured of tomorrow because our lives are in the hand of God. How easy it is to get lazy or pass up opportunities when we know we can't get around to it the next day, the next week, or in a year or two. You don't know what your future holds, but God has given you this moment right now. Don't waste it. Here's some devotional thoughts for today. A farmer had a huge watermelon patch, and they were such good melons that some kids in town, they took to stealing them. The farmer finally had enough and put up a sign which read, "One of these watermelons is poison." Sure enough, the next morning, the farmer went to the patch and noticed not one melon was gone. He grinned real big until he noticed that someone had changed the sign. It now read, "Two of these watermelons is poison." Our cleverness is not always the same as God's wisdom. For one thing, God's wisdom doesn't deceive or harm others. We may think we pulled a fast one in the last business deal or in our relationship with a loved one, but we may have forgotten that we will reap what we sow. Jacob was very clever. He tricked his brother out of his inheritance and he had to flee for his life. And then he met someone who was cleverer than him, Uncle Laban, who tricked Jacob out of 14 years of hard work to marry his daughters. He married one daughter, and as we know, there was the switch on the night of his wedding night when he woke up in the morning and it was the other daughter. And so he had to work an extra 7 years in order to marry the daughter that he really wanted and loved. Good story. So Jesus said, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and gentle as doves." Matthew 10:16. And keep holding on. 1 Thessalonians 3:8. For now we live if you stand fast in the Lord. Each of us have faced things that we thought we'd never be able to stand or get over. We are humans, and humans tend to look to themselves for help. We want to be self-sufficient. We want to have control over all aspects of our life. It's very hard to say, "I need help," and then ask for it. Can you ever think of a time like that? Maybe there's a time that your children needed help and you went to them and they said, "No, no, no, I can do it." It didn't matter if the task was too big, they could still do it. And so they thought. But as parents, we stood there in our ground, and I can remember, my daughter, she used to play video games and we let her go. And then eventually there would come to the moment when, "Dad, I'm stuck." And I'd get the controller and I'd get past the limit. And then I'd always make the joke, "Well, since you didn't do it yourself, we'll just have to reset it." "No, no, that's okay, Dad. I'll take over from here." So anyway, spiritually, we need help at times. We need to be able to say, "Lord, I need you more than I ever needed you. Life isn't as easy as I thought, and I'm unable to control my life." We don't need to be ashamed to ask and to go another route. We need to hold fast to God, lean on his power to help us through terrible times. The enemy comes at us from all sides, and we need the armor of God to protect us from the enemy. With God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26. That's it for today. Got a couple of fun facts, and then remember, those jokes are good ones, so you want to stick around for that. Hopefully, we'll see. By law, every child in Belgium must take harmonica lessons at primary school. And it's physically impossible for pigs to look up into the sky. It's one of the things God gave us, is look up, our redemption draweth nigh. Here's your closing thought. Lord, today I will set aside petty grievances and look for solutions. Let's commit to that today, shall we? All right, here's your jokes for the day. Now, there's a man walking along the beach and suddenly he notices a washed up bottle, and he opens it up and he rubs the bottle and up pops a genie. And the genie is just so happy to be freed, says, "Okay, I'm going to grant you one wish." Yeah, the guy said, "I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. Here I am in California, but I don't like flying, and always afraid of airplanes and a boat. It seems like the waters might be a bit rough. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to drive there. So could you build me a highway to Hawaii? Then I get my car and I can drive there." And Genie went, "That's crazy. You can't do that. Think about that. The distance, the concrete, the the pylons that are going to have to be put down to sustain the structure, engineering and everything else. It's just, that's a little bit too much of us. Give me something else. He says, well, listen, I've been kind of struggling. I've just divorced, and I just never understood the inner thinkings of women. You know, we just never seem to hit it off, and don't know why they laugh, why they cry, why they get so emotional, and all the inner workings of them. I really, you grant me the wisdom that I can understand women. Well, there was a long pause, and the genie said, would you like 2 lanes or 4 lanes on that highway? Well, there's a faith healer, and he ran into his old friend Max and asked him how things were going. Oh, not too good, was the paying reply. My brother is very sick. No, no, no. Your brother is not sick. He just needs to believe that he's healed. It's not real. He needs to believe that he is well. He only thinks he's sick. Remember that. Tell him he only thinks he's sick. Well, a couple of months later pass, and then he runs into Max again. And the healer said, hey, how's your brother doing? Oh, it's gotten a lot worse. He thinks he's dead. That's all I got. Thanks for coming. God bless.